Get ready for a powerhouse of inspiration. Principal Baruti Kafele. A highly regarded educator and a transformational leader, Principal Kafele has spent over 20 years in New Jersey's urban schools, making a lasting impact as both a master teacher and a turnaround principal. Under his leadership, the mighty Newark Tech transformed from a low-performing school to one of America's best, as recognized by U.S. News and World Report 3 times. A recipient of the prestigious Milken Educator Award, Principal Kafele is one of the most sought-after voices in school leadership and equity. He's delivered over 3,000 keynotes, workshops, and seminars across the nation, authored 13 books, including 7 ASCD bestsellers, and continues to empower leaders through his live-streamed AP and New Principals Academy. Please join us in welcoming the extraordinary Principal Baruti Kafele.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to week 264 of the AP and New Principals Academy. I should say week 264 from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Let's see who we got in the building here. We got Mona Obamolak is always here, and always good to see you down in Orlando, Florida. You got that same rainy weather that they got here in San Juan, Mona. Michael Benton, Cincinnati, Ohio. Yolanda McKinney is here from Texas. Dr. Rachel Edowekit is here, Maryland. I was just sharing with my wife how you were having that push-up contest and won it. So for those in the dark, yeah, the principal had a push-up contest with the students. She beat them all. She was wearing a dress and heels and beat them all. Good stuff. Constance Sherrod is in the building, Pearl, Mississippi. We got Amelia Lange is in Yules, Texas. Where we at? Dr. Rella Hicks is in Augusta, Georgia. Takesha High is in Virginia. Grace Castaneda is in Kyle, Texas. Ronald Pugh, I see you in Cedar Hill, Texas. Where we at? Rodney Richardson, Hampton, Virginia. AP Patrick Lawrence in Connecticut. Elisa Rivera is in Rhode Island. Yeah, I'm enjoying Puerto Rico, Elisa, but you know it's been raining for like 2 days now, maybe 3. I don't know. It's raining, man. It's but we got that sun in the beginning, so we good. Dr. Sonia Matthew is in the building down there in Maryland. If you missed the broadcast with her, the session with her, go back and check it out. Just scroll back, and then she'll be back on later on in the year. Marsha Poe, San Diego, she'll be on with me later in the year too. Arlette Johnson, she'll be on later. Matter of fact, she'll be on with Marsha Poe. Right, so we got all the families scheduled to come on here. Lysandra Brackens is in the building, North Carolina. Robin Snowden, Harambe, out in Fresno, California. Stacy Joy in the building, LA, California. Nadira Coley is here from North Brick City, Newark, New Jersey. We got Nicole Cornelius. Good morning to you. Dot McKeever Jeter, I should say Principal Dot McKeever Jeter, Calumet City, Illinois. Where we at? LaKenya Rowland, Jersey in the building. We got Lily Lanier, Rose Hill, North Carolina. James Wilburn is in Denton, Texas. Tony McClenny's in Battle Creek, Michigan. Where we at? Miss Best is in the building. Annette McMahon is in the building. Aurora, Illinois. I'm gonna be in Aurora, Colorado. That's where I'm going. Right, pretty soon. Where we at? Kevin Murchison is in the building. Stacy Mabry, Dr. Stacy Mabry's in the building down in Augusta, Georgia. Where we at? We got the queen of the hotel room. Kimberly Broughton Kafele in the building. Arcella Austri is in the building. David Bell, I'm getting ready to wrap it up. Taryn Chambers Gavon is in the building. Good to see you. Good to see you. Let all them other authors know, Taryn, that we are in the building. With we got Dr. Tiffany S. Brunson here. Shanae Joy Moore, I'm getting ready to shut it down. Y'all is in the building from Charlotte, North Carolina. Haley Elaine Couch, my milking sister, is here. Where we at? Caroline Noah. good morning from Philly. She said, those of you that don't know what I mean by Milken, you better Google Milken, Milken, Milken Educator Awards. That's a special group. We got T. Atkins from New Orleans, Louisiana. And I'm going to end it with Nova Scotia. We got Jacqueline Harriet in the building, Nova Scotia, Canada. I'll be in Nova Scotia in August, but I won't. Yeah, I'll tell you about it, Jacqueline. I'll be there. It's gonna be brutal. I land at midnight in some other town, and the only way I can get to Nova Scotia was a 5-hour drive at midnight. Get there like 5, 6 in the morning, then do something for 2 hours and speak at 8. We call that hashtag speaker life, right? That ain't for everybody. I gotta take 2 flights, land at midnight, drive for 5 hours, pray that the rental car facility is still open. Oh man, I don't even want to think about it. Hey, look, y'all, let me say formally to everybody, I can't even be loud in here, man. People might be asleep. You know, we in San Juan. That means they might have been out late Friday night. You understand? So I'll just say good morning. I don't want nobody knocking on my door or my walls. Greetings and welcome to week 264 of the AP and New Principals Academy. And I should say that's 264 consecutively, right? Consecutively. You know, I got that question I'm gonna ask you every day, every Saturday. How you feeling, y'all? How you doing? You know, I got to a point, you know, I try to keep them politics off of this thing, and I struggle with it, but you know, I'm gonna just say this. I don't know what's going on out of DC like in the moment, right? And I'm gonna tell you why. I had to fall back, y'all. I just had to fall back. I know I need to keep up with it, particularly being in the position I am as a leadership consultant in education. But I had to fall back, man. It's too much going on, man. It's like every time you blink your eye, he into something else, right? So it's like I'm gonna get back on it, but I just had to fall back a little bit, you know, because it's not good. And I'll speak for me. I won't speak for anybody else on here. It's not good for my mental health to read about this person. Well, I don't have to say this person, the president. It's not good for my mental health. It's not good to watch him give speeches all the time, right? Any of that stuff. It's just not good because so many of those decisions that are being made adversely impact Black people and brown people, right? So for that reason alone, I need to be on top of it. But I got to look out for me too. So I don't know what he's done over the past 72 hours. I have no idea, right? But I'll catch up at some point. And I had time to know because I get up very early, even on vacation, like 7 o'clock. I'm up and I'm on the balcony and just chilling for about 3 hours. You know, that's what I do when I'm on vacation. Read, post, write. You know, I wrote a lot of books when I was on balconies, right? So that's what I do. You know, so we'll catch up. But anyway. I asked the question, how you feeling? Because once again, however you're feeling in your leadership capacity, you still got to have those structures in place in your life that get you back to where you need to be so that you can lead at the highest levels that you can. I see you, Tina Haywood. We got Newark in the building, Newark, New Jersey. Let's go. Let me go through my announcements. First, as I always do, continued thoughts and prayers to all of our fam in Southern California that may have been impacted by the wildfires out there. Somebody new to the platform might be saying, man, that happened a long time ago. Principal Kafele, you still saying that? Yeah, I mean, the news is not covering it. But those are real people that lost real homes, right? So I'm not leaving that right now, right? Those homes were not rebuilt overnight, right? It's still rubble. So I want to make sure that I recognize, and I'm sure that there was some who were fam of this academy, right? So I don't want to pretend that didn't happen. Shout out to just, you know, here in San Juan, Puerto Rico, man. I needed this week because from when I get back, I'm going hard in the paint. From the time I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas, the day after on Monday, right? So I land Sunday in Newark. I'm in Little Rock Monday, right? And then it's just on until September, right? On. Pray for me. Because some of them weeks are 5 states per week, right? So just pray for me, keep me in your prayers, but I'll still be here, I'll still be here live on Saturday. So in other words, all that travel, all that speaking, but somehow putting together an agenda and being in contact with guests. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I've done it before, right? That's the good thing. This is year 6 we're in now, so it's not new to me. I ain't new to this. I'm true to this, right? That's what the young people say, right? So shout out to Placer County Office of Education. Y'all, can y'all believe this? And I don't want to see nobody in this thread say, come on, Kafele, don't do that. I did a virtual keynote while I was here. I did a virtual 90-minute keynote sitting right here on Thursday, right? Or Wednesday, whatever it was, Thursday. So don't nobody say, aren't you supposed to be on vacation? Those people was writing on my thread on Facebook. Aren't you supposed to be on vacation? I was, man. When I'm talking to an audience, I'm in my happy place, man. Why you think I'm smiling at y'all? So yeah, I did a virtual keynote, man, on Thursday, right? To assistant principals from Placer County Office of Education. Shout out to them. We had a good time. Good time, man. I was wearing a t-shirt, man. I wasn't going to fake the funk, man. I wasn't going to like wear a suit and a tie, right? I had on a t-shirt. It said milking. Somebody said, that's the second time he said milking. What is that? You better Google it. Let's go, y'all. Welcome to the first timers. If this is, in fact, your first time, you've missed 263 powerful sessions. 263, that means you go to YouTube, to the AP and New Principals Academy, and you just binge watch them, right? Just binge watch them. I see you, Armin Wilson. That's a young man that's a sophomore in high school in Lake Charles, Louisiana, that tunes in. Armin Wilson, he gonna be one of your biggest leaders in the future, because I mean he's a sophomore. I guess sophomore year's over for him in the South, because they should be finished now. But he'd be a junior next year, but he's been on the academy all year. That's how you grow. That's how you develop. That's how you become a leader. You're a sophomore in high school, but you tuning into this platform every Saturday morning. Shout out to Armin Wilson, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Here we go. School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele, July 15 and 16. If you haven't registered yet, come on now. It's almost here. Raleigh, North Carolina, July 15 and 16. We're talking instructional leadership all day. Just go to principalkafele.com, scroll down to where you see the advertisement, click the link, register. You get a free copy. When you walk in and sign the sign-in sheet, you get my newest one, as I say, my new joint. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? You get a free copy. Now, if you're saying to me, but Kafele, I got a copy already, then you donate it to somebody who could benefit from it. Because I'm gonna tell you something, let you in on a secret. Let me get closer to my mic. There's some leaders out here that call themselves instructional leaders, but that's where it stops. They call themselves instructional leaders, but it stops there. That's not who nor what they are. They need this. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Get them a copy, right? So you get that when you register. When you get it when you sign in. When I see you in Raleigh, and I'm gonna sign them all for you. Let me go to my my monologue right quick, y'all. I got the big time guests here, man. So I don't want to take too much time. But my monologue topic, I came up with it right on the balcony the other morning. What's revolutionary about my leadership? I'm putting this in the first person, y'all. Matter of fact, tag somebody, text somebody, call somebody, repost, retweet, share the video, let folks know, hit them Facebook leadership groups up, let them know we are here. Now let me go to this monologue. Again, this title. What's revolutionary about my leadership? What's revolutionary about my leadership? Now, let me say this about that word revolutionary, because some people, they get it kind of twisted. Revolutionary. I jotted down a definition: involving or causing a complete or dramatic change. Again, involving or causing a complete or dramatic change. So I don't want anybody thinking I'm talking about overthrowing a government or something, right? We're talking about your leadership involving or causing a complete or dramatic change. In the context of your leadership, I'm talking about where change is necessary, right? And I might add when change is necessary, because it might not be the day you walk in on campus as a brand new principal, you're going to abruptly change everything as we're living in America right now, right? So I'll say this to you. Let me start it this way. When I was a fifth grade teacher, I had this big sign on my classroom wall, and I used to share this with my students every day. I was in East Orange, New Jersey. Every student was Black. It's one of the blackest cities in America, right? So the sign read, and I would say to them every day, hey, young people, when the Black history books are written 100 years from now, what will they write? What will the authors write about you? Once again, when the Black history books are written 100 years from now, what will the authors write about you? In other words, I'm not expecting that they're all going to do something that's worthy of an author writing about them, but I'm asking them I'm challenging them to think big, that I'm going to do big things that impact not only my personal life, but they're going to impact my neighborhood, my community, my city, my state, my country, my world, right? I wanted them thinking like that. So to the extent that, wow, I've done something so extraordinary that an author of a book would want to write about me. Now, that was my language back in, this is the 90s. In 2025, it would sound like this. What will the history books, when the history books are written, what will they say about you? Meaning, I don't need to put Black history. I can just say history, right? But at that time, I was really narrowed in on Black history. I'm still there in terms of who I am philosophically, but I can say whatever history book is written, what will be said about you? What's this got to do with what's revolutionary about my leadership? Everything. Because check this out, y'all. I got a question for you. When the history books are written 100 years from now, what will be written about your leadership? Just let that marinate for a second. When the history books are written 100 years from now, what will be written about your leadership? In other words, again, I'm not expecting folks to be writing stories about you. They might, but that's not the point. The point is, what will be so extraordinary about your leadership that is worthy of documentation? That's what I'm asking. So you got to keep this handy on that one. Like, my leadership. What is it about my leadership that is so impactful? So I got these 6 questions to support it, and then I'm done. We go to my guests. Jot these down, y'all. I don't have time to put them in the computer and be putting them on screen and all that. Just, you can rewind later. Number 1, which is number 2 in my notes, is my leadership purpose driven, mission driven, and vision driven? Or is it purpose less, mission less, and vision less? See, that one that walks in that building every day, and I'm not talking about your school mission and vision and purpose. I'm talking about your leadership mission, vision, and purpose. But that one that walks in this whose leadership is purpose driven, is mission driven, and vision driven, that's revolutionary. See, we're not using that word politically. That's revolutionary. Let me go to this next one. Am I a status quo leader, or am I a disruptor of the status quo? Ooh, let that one just marinate. Let's sit that one right there for a second. Am I a status quo leader, or am I a disruptor of the status quo? Who are you? When you go in there with that disruptor mindset, but you have aligned yourself with people, because you can't, that Lone Ranger ain't gonna work, but you've aligned yourself with people that support you and others who just got your back, right? Who are aligned with your vision. So that you can go in there, that status quo is working, then let's sustain it. But that status quo is harmful and damaging to young people. Are you going to go in there and sustain that just because it's a high paying salary? Or are you going to go in there and disrupt that? That's revolutionary. See, let's go back to our topic. What's revolutionary about my leadership? Let's go to this next one. Am I able to envision that which currently doesn't exist and ultimately make it my reality? Woo! Let me get that to you again. I don't even want that to marinate you. Somebody might need to hear that over. Am I able to envision that which currently doesn't even exist and ultimately make it my reality? When I was a young principal, I needed an African-centered program in that same city I just referenced, East Orange, one of the blackest cities in America with a Eurocentric curriculum. I said, I need something that speaks to these black children. I went to that superintendent and sold it on them, and we created it. And I haven't seen much like it in America in a public school, right? So in other words, I created something that did not exist. That was revolutionary. How about you? Let's go. I'm almost done, y'all. Am I able? Now I got to, in full disclosure, this next one, I stole this one from my guest today, right? When I read her, when I read her story and her purpose, etc., I said, I got to use that. Watch this. I said, am I able to make someone else's impossible my possible, my reality, my manifestation? You'll understand that once I bring her up here, because our topic today is making the invisible visible and the impossible possible, right? So let me give you the question again. Am I able to make someone else's impossible? So in other words, let me break that down. Someone out there in the world says, man, your vision, your goals, your objectives, they're not possible. This is very unrealistic. This is what they say. Like, come on, you gotta, the way you're thinking is impossible. You gotta tone that down and fall back. But here's you. Let's go to the question. Am I able to make someone else's impossible? See, that's their impossible. My possible. See, my reality. See, my manifestation. See, you can talk, you can talk all the impossible, all the impossibility, all you want, but I'm coming, baby. I'm coming, and I'm going to show you that it's possible. Last one. No, next to last one. What will distinguish my leadership from everybody else? And by the way, that previous one with the impossible, see, that's revolutionary, y'all. What will distinguish my leadership from everyone else's leadership? You going to be like everybody else? Or you going to be you? I know just doing this Saturday Academy, ain't nobody doing this like me, man, because I'm being my authentic self. So they can't, I mean, if I saw somebody doing this like me, I'd be like, yo, you don't even look right. You look like a straight up imitating fraud. Because I'm just being me. You ain't no two of any of us. That's inclusive of twins. So what will distinguish my leadership from everybody else out there? Last one, big one too, y'all. Do I possess the audacity to vow that if you are enrolled in my school, you will attain academic success? Let me give that to you again. Do I possess the audacity to vow that if you are enrolled in my school, you will attain academic success? I'm just asking you, can you look at any youngster that walks in that building and say, we got this? Do you have the audacity to bring that mindset versus, we can't save them all? Like you ever heard this one? Some of y'all probably used it before. If I could save just one, I did some work. Yo, let me get something for you. Here go my guest room trash can, right? And you see I got trash in it. So those of you that, if I can save, and even the word save can be problematic. If I can save just one, I've done my job. Put it right in here. Put it right in the nearest trash can. It's garbage. And then they can take all the trash and put it in the trash bin outside, the dumpster, right? And maybe have a dumpster fire of that particular thought, right? Hey, y'all, that's my monologue for today, man. I went a little longer than I planned to, but that's all right. It's raining outside. I'm not in any rush to get on a beach. If I go outside right now, it's like being in Jersey City on a rainy day. So let's go. I got a guest here. Let me get her up here, man. She probably chomping at the bit to jump on my monologue too, man. Let me change my background. Oh my God, I'm so disorganized this morning. Here we go. Let me get that background changed there. Yes. There we go. Good morning, Dr. Brunson.
Good morning. I'm fired up.
What you got to say about that monologue? What's on your mind?
That's my every day, every purpose. Seriously, when I get in a car, when I wake up in the morning, I do the same thing. I wake up in the morning, I take about 10 minutes to do a little meditation, set a purpose for my day. And then I think about the people I need to talk to, like those people that you need to double back, maybe a conversation or something like that, or someone I just want to check on and see if they're doing okay. And that can include a child, an adult, whatever. And then I set out for a great day. A great day to make it a purposeful, meaningful, impactful day every single day.
Love it. For those of you that don't know Dr. Brunson, let me introduce you to her by reading her bio. Here we go. A native Chicagoan. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yep, Chicagoan. Yes, you did. Chi-town.
I've never heard it said a Chicagoan. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Like a New Jerseyite. A native Chicagoan, award-winning educational leader and Army veteran, Dr. Tiffany Brunson is a highly sought-after speaker, presenter, author, and people developer. Dr. Brunson is the proud superintendent of Elementary School District 159, serving the students, families, communities of, is that pronounced Madison, Richton Park, and Tinley Park. During her 30-year career, she has served as an elementary and high school special education teacher in Chicago and Oak Park, Illinois. She also served as a school administrator in Chicago, Forest Park, and as Rockford Public Schools' first Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer. She currently serves as on the board of directors for the Illinois Alliance of Black School Educators. That's the affiliate of NABSE, National Alliance of Black School Educators, and is a member of the Superintendent's Commission for the Study of Demographics and Diversity, where she serves on the legislative and scholarship committees. In 2024, she became the contributing author of a new book, Centering Our Voices, the Anthology. This is a novel that celebrates the brilliance, persistence, and significance of Black women. You can purchase a copy of this award-winning book and what it did, it turned into that little bit thing. But I think they can get it right at Amazon, right?
Mm-hmm, that's correct.
And here's so you all will recall I had 3 guests from this book a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. That Taryn Chambers Given, Dr. Taryn Given is the one that compiled all of this. She's the editor, and here we go. So she was on with me. She'll be back with me. But now we got another one of the contributors of this book. Dr. Brunson is committed to creating equitable educational communities for all students, guided by anti-racist, culturally affirming instructional practices, meaningful human connections, and intentional decision-making. She strongly believes that if given a quality education, access, and opportunities, every human being has the potential to live a full life and leave behind a great legacy. Strong stuff. And her resume is much longer. I always ask my guests, send me the short one, y'all, so I'm not reading whole pages.
Yes. We got real important things to talk about. We don't need to read that.
That's right. Let's jump into it. Hey, y'all, once again, hit the share button, retweet, repost, tag somebody, text somebody, call somebody, let them know we're here. Make sure you hit that like button too. Like. If you dislike it, like it anyway, right? So hit that like button. That's how we get them algorithms going. Here we go. You've done a ton in education, Doc. From your bio, classroom special needs teacher, school administrator, central office administrator, board of directors, commission work, speaker, author, superintendent of school. Some are content. Some people are content with, like, I just want to be a teacher, right? Or I'm in this principalship and I just want to do this. I want to ride this all the way out. What has been your motivation to engage in such a wide range of roles within education?
So I want to first touch on that. I never like that. I'm just, it's very limiting.
Yeah.
However, because I think there's a leader in every seat, in every building, in every school. So it doesn't matter what your position is. So I always like to challenge people just. And as far as with me, I think you spoke about it earlier. I think it's about influence. It's about impact. And what I learned, I was an amazing teacher and I enjoyed what I did, but it wasn't enough. So it isn't about it's not enough. Yeah. I wasn't impacting enough students. I wasn't touching enough lives, and so that's what made me, want to become a assistant principal, et cetera, all the way to superintendent, because I wanted, I always think about this just a little bit. I say people in the positions that you want to have a lot of influence, you have to be very courageous and say, is this enough? Am I doing enough? Is this position enough? Am I doing enough? And then I just said to myself, I'm not. I was doing great, but I wasn't doing enough. And this position of superintendent has given me the opportunity to have a greater influence.
I love it. Staying consistent with that question, I think about, as I was putting this together, my own career. I spent 7 years as a teacher, 14 as a principal, 39 as a presenter, 14 as a self-employed presenter. Mm-hmm. But the role that meant the most to me, beyond the shadow of a doubt, was the one that I did for the shortest amount of time and was paid the least amount of money. That was a 5th grade elementary school teacher. There was something special about walking into that classroom every day with those same children every day and watching them grow and recognizing my own influence on the growth that I was seeing unfold before my eyes. My question to you, when you think about all the roles that you've played in education, what is the one that really jumps out at you that you said, this is the one that's closest to my heart?
Going back to my first position as a special education teacher, I was a special education teacher back in the day. I love when we go back to talk about, I tell people I became an equity warrior then. Back then, when I became a teacher, I taught those students, as I like to call them, that were furthest from success. Those students who I knew, they had 6 teachers in like 4 years. It was a very, very difficult position because their needs were so high. The behavior challenges and the academic needs were so high. And I was like, oh, this is right up my alley. This was a challenge that I knew that I was the right person for. And I still think about that. I share the pictures. It's funny because I shared a picture of me in my first class with my staff. And they're asking me, they're like, are you drinking vampire blood? You look the same. I said, but when you love what you do, you every day it brings you joy. And so that's where I started. That's where my equity journey started. So those kids, special education students, and I'll share this real quick story. Remember when I got hired and I told my principal and I said, well, where's my classroom? And he said, there. And it was like tucked away, kind of, how they did us special ed teachers back in the day. And then I told my principal, I said, I want you to walk with me. Remember, I'm a first year teacher. I said, walk with me. And he said, where are we going to? I said, to find my new classroom. And I put my classroom in the middle of the school. I said, these children will not be tucked away.
Yeah.
Like, an afterthought. I said, and I'm going to teach everyone else how to teach them, and everyone else how to respect them, and everyone else how to love them. And that was the beginning of it. And then I taught there for 7 years as an elementary school special ed teacher, and then went on to create an award-winning program at high school. I was tapped to create a high school program for students that would normally be sent out of general ed schools. And I created that program in a gen ed school, because I was like, again, they will not be tucked away or sent away. Yeah. And so, that was it at the beginning of my career. Absolutely.
You preface your remarks with the words equity warrior. Mm-hmm. And then as I listened to you closely, I could hear the equity. I want you, for the benefit of someone out here that has no clue or understanding of what we mean by equity, right? Because it's become such a political football. It's a boogeyman. It's a 4-letter word in so many places. What is an equity warrior?
Well, it's someone that is a disruptor, someone that sees injustice and says, this isn't okay. And it can be something that's just as small as what I just said about where my class was, where it was positioned. But I was just like, hey, when you think about being an equity warrior, I would say this: if you are truly one of those that you will say, I'm going to disrupt the status quo, I'm going to create a new reality, I'm going to change and make the lives of other people different. I always say that there are two things understanding about equity. Every time I have this conversation with people, because sometimes they think it's like a zero-sum game. If I have to give something to those who are most in need, then I'm taking something away from someone else. And so I always try to tell people, think about it this way. Because when I was a chief DEI officer, that's a whole nother conversation. I always tell people about equity. We have to give the people who need it most what they deserve. That doesn't mean that we're taking away from you, because there are people who have unearned advantages and there are people who have unearned disadvantages. And oftentimes those are the ones who need it most. And so I always try to have the conversation with people around that. I was like, if you are in need of water and I give you food, has your need been met? And I said, that is what equity is about, giving you what you deserve and what you need so that you can be successful. So to me, it's not, it's not the word, it's the mindset, the disposition, and it's the actions.
Love it. And Juan Netta, I want you to stay on, because what you asked me to talk about last week is actually built into today's presentation. Mm-hmm. Right? I'm not doing the whole presentation on that topic today, but it will be in this presentation. So just stay with us today. All right. Let's go. So you're in this, and I'm just kind of jumping into you right now. We'll get into all our other stuff as we unfold. Mm-hmm. But superintendency, it's got so many moving parts. It's got so many different challenges and obstacles. And also, this is me looking at it from the outside looking in, it's a very lonely position. And the reason that I would even say that, you may see it differently, is because the principalship was lonely for me. Oh. I'm the only principal in the building. There's a multitude of teachers, secretaries, custodians, security, all that, but there's only one me. Right. So I found it to be lonely, but I was able to make it more than that. But that's a whole other discussion. Mm-hmm. Why? So with the superintendency, outside of what you said in terms of the motivation, why the superintendency, given the challenges that come from a zillion different directions toward that position?
It is absolutely one of the loneliest, misunderstood positions in education. Yeah. But it is singularly one of the most influential. And that is the reason why I chose that. It's interesting because I would see other people that didn't look like me. So let's preface this with this. There are about 14,000 superintendents in America. 1% are Black women. 1%. So let's even make it lonelier, right? No one understands how difficult it is. No one understands how much of a challenge it is. I always make jokes about there's so many socio-political landmines, and I'm doing my best not to blow my toes off every single day. I think I may have lost a pinky toe every once in a while. But it's the thing where you can step into a room and there's two things. People are going to respect you or they're going to be dismissive of you, even in that position. And to me, I was like, it didn't matter. I said, because I knew that I belonged there and that our students, my students, the students of the communities that I serve deserved me. And I know that sounds, that sounds like a lot of bravado.
No, that's
But if
attitude.
but if you as an educator don't believe, especially as a leader, don't believe like, hey, I'm here because those people, I have something, I have gifts and talents and assets to give, and they deserve me to lead, co-lead, co-design, and to be in community with them. And that's the reason why I chose it, because I watched other people do it and I was like, okay, I could do that.
Love it. I can do it. I want to shift that on to the fam who are watching right now. And those of you who are maybe first timers, when I say fam, I'm talking about everybody that's on the other side of my camera, right? I'll call you fam. If you checked in today, you fam. So your mindset was, I can do it.
Yeah.
So I flip it on to you all out there in the fam. What's your mindset, particularly when you're faced with certain challenges, right? Certain obstacles, certain roadblocks, certain dead ends. Where does your mind go? Are you able to maintain a mindset that, I can do this. I just may have to do it a different way, right? But I can do it. What's your mindset? That matters, and that's why this is the most important tool that I have in the toolkit. Self-reflection, self-assessment, self-adjustment, self-improvement. It matters. And then we sprinkle in some self-preservation and some self-care, right? So with that, as I wrap up this portion, with everything that you said, Doc, who is Dr. Tiffany S. Brunson?
It depends on who you ask. So I would tell you this. I am a person that is really, really interested in understanding other human beings and understanding that we have a very short amount of time. We have an infinite amount of things to do in a finite amount of time. And I believe that. So I try not to overdo everything too much, but sometimes it can come off the wrong way. And I'm very self-reflective. I'm one of those people who the mirror work is with me every single day. But who am I? I'm a best friend. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a cousin. I'm a sister. I'm a sister. Because, we got a whole bunch of sisters who are not related to us. I'm a friend. I'm a confidant. I'm just deeply sensitive. I practice radical empathy. Even when faced with people who are not the kindest to me, I always find a way to be kind because I feel like there's something going on with that person and they need something. So I don't know. I'm just trying to do my best in this world and leave any space or any person that I come in contact with better. But I love sports. Like there's some other things, like I love sports. I love traveling. But really, I just love to be alive and know that this is the only time I have. So I always make the most of it.
Love it. Love it. What's your favorite sport?
Track and field and basketball.
Oh, you're a basketball.
Football. And I'm a football. I'm really, really a Bears fan. Don't make fun of me, people out there.
No,
Die hard.
They might show us something this year because they did a lot to put a lot around Caleb Williams. So
they did.
We'll see. But basketball, we
oh goodness gracious.
we right here now,
Listen, one thing I am not, you said, who am I? One thing I'm not is a hater. So I'm here. I'm here clapping.
I know you like, I'm sure you like the Bulls, but not this year.
I want nice things, but I'm not a hater. That's the one thing I'm not.
Yeah. Listen, last week, the young lady I just had on the screen, she put a comment. It wasn't part of our discussion, but it was a good comment about the relationship between central office and the building.
Yes.
And we know that those relationships can be rocky or they can be good depending on leadership. And I don't mean just superintendent leadership. I
Yes.
mean, because these are all leaders, you know, but whether it be the building leader, the central office leader. So some of us may feel, oh, there's too much overreach. Some of us may feel that they're bombarding us with these various different departments. There's so many different demands being made. All this, talk to us from the superintendent's chair, but I don't need you to talk about it from your district, because you're a consultant as well. So put on your consultant's hat with this one, and talk to us about what that relationship should look like, and how do we make it work?
So first and foremost, you have to have people that are in those positions that are there to serve. I always tell people, if you're too high to serve, you're too low to lead. You know what I mean? I'm saying you can't call yourself a leader and you're going to do it from your desk. I said the people who are most impacted by your decisions, they have to have a seat at the table to make those decisions in order for them to work. And I'm going to speak a little bit from me as both of those, because I can't separate it, because I can't go out and tell someone in another school district or tell someone in one of my my speeches or workshops that about things that I haven't done or been successful. Every single human being in every single seat, whether they are feeding children, whether they are cleaning our buildings, whether they are educators, paraprofessionals, you a speech and language pathologist, it does not matter to me. You all have an important job, and you're all connected to ensuring the success of the children. When you let everyone know that every single thing matters to the conditions of making sure that students are successful, it doesn't matter if you're in central office or not. Now, speaking from the central office lens, I always like to tell people, do not have your people just in the silos and vacuums make decisions. Always make sure that you're talking to your people. I do a lot of listening sessions, and I say that empathy interviews, listening sessions, talking to the people who are affected most by your decisions, and make sure that they're at the table. And it isn't just about being at the table, because you could put people at the table as a gesture of, hey, I let you come into the room. But if you're not going to really listen to them, then, and not going to be responsive to the needs of people. And I always say central office has to know there are two really important things that you have to be equally focused on: working conditions and learning conditions, because the working conditions of your people affect the students' learning conditions. You cannot come down on people and not, help them. My staff will tell you, I have this saying, we don't lower the expectations, we increase the support. And so if someone is not being successful in their building, that is your job. Our job is not to criticize. Our job is to assist and support. And so my HR, they do chat and chew sessions. So quarterly, the teachers know, the staff know, they're in the lunchrooms. They're in the staff lunchrooms. They come to them. Everyone is deployed. We're not in the we're in the buildings to be supportive. We're not there to be evaluative. Because that has a place, right? Because I have people above me I have to answer to, and superintendents have people above them they have to answer to. But the reality is there is no us versus them. What it is us versus low expectations. It's us, versus our, what's happening, like you said, in Washington. It is us versus, poor things that are being said about our children in the media and what they can and cannot do. It's really, we all have play a role in our students being successful. And so when you see it that way, and when you open the door and you see that we're all working in tandem for the success of our students, those are the best places to work. And that's where you have low turnover. You have people who will then tell a friend, hey, we got an open position, you should apply. When people are telling their friends, when teachers are telling their friends, you should come work for our district, that is the biggest advertisement, right? Because the people are saying this is a great place for you to work. And so central office has got to see themselves as partners, co-designers. Otherwise, it's never going to work. Because I've been in those positions where it was us versus them as a as a principal. And it was the worst. It was the absolute worst position to be in. But I just understand that we're a community, and the only way a community is going to be successful is if everyone is involved and that everyone understands their particular position and their particular talent and gift and how it needs to be used for the community, the school community, to be successful.
One of the things that really stood out is being able to listen.
Yes.
And I think that, when you think about central office folks who used to be at the building level, it's just like when a teacher complains that the principal forgot what it was to be a teacher. Sometimes, I used to think in my mind, I think you forgot in terms of central office what it was like to lead these schools.
Yes.
This because you're in a different world now. You're in a different genre of leadership. So that listening, that communication is so important. Like let me give you this. Let me give you this scenario, and I want to see. I'm curious to see how you respond to this. So you got a supervisor or director that's almost trying to lead the school, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do I, as principal, engage you in that conversation? That no, you are a resource, you are a support for me, but you're not my co-principal.
Yes.
How do I engage you in that conversation without creating a rift between us?
I think the first thing, because I can speak to that as a former principal, and I remember that actually happened to me. Someone came in very heavy-handed, as I like to call them, very heavy-handed. I've never been one of those people who needed a heavy hand, because I was going to give you 110% even when I didn't have it in me. But I think if you are a leader, at the building level, and you know that your district office or a particular person can be a little bit heavy-handed, the conversation has to be, you got to remember why that conversation is necessary. You can't be worried about losing your job. You can't be worried about retaliation or whatever, because you will not be able to do your job if they are too heavy-handed. If your staff doesn't see you as the leader, if they don't trust your voice and your decision-making, that's the conversation you have to have with them. Because I've had to have that conversation when, basically when you are coming in, thank you for your support, because that's what I need. However, I need to be able to lead and them to understand that I am the leader, but you're here to help support me and to support our goals as a school. But you got to be courageous in saying that, because sometimes they're sent there to do that. You know what I mean? Sometimes they're sent there or they're told to go and support, but they don't know how to support. So really, you just got to have a conversation and say, hey, can we look at my data? Or can you do a classroom walkthrough with me? And then I can talk to you about the things that I do need from you. But some of the things that you're offering me are not things that I need for me to be successful. Just get real specific. Take away as I always tell my people, focus on the verb, not the noun. Focus on what you need, the ing of it all, instead of the person, because then they can pull themselves away because they're not being rejected or being disrespected as a person. They're just like, hey, that support is something I don't need, but hey, here is something that you can help me with. That's the conversation. You have to have that conversation. Otherwise, you'll lose credibility with your people. And then what it does, you become complicit in your own oppression. You're like, hey, I'm just gonna let them walk all over me when they come in my building. I mean, when I was a principal in Chicago, quickly, I had someone that was over me who was very, very, this was her. She was legendary with this type of behavior. She walked into my faculty meeting and just looked at me and said, we brought you here. I was a turnaround principal. We brought you here to turn this school around, and looked at me. Now, mind you, I was brought to turn that school around by Ernie Duncan. So I was hand selected. Do you know what I'm saying? Wow. So then I got a new boss though, because, they leave and then you get a new person. And so then she came in my faculty meeting, while I introduced her as the new person that's over my department. I mean, she was over the department. I was one of her new schools. And she turned to me and said, hey, if you don't fire these people who aren't good, then I'm going to fire you.
Wow.
And I said, we're probably all going to get fired then. I mindset, because my job is not to fire. My job is to inspire, to empower, and to help them be better at their jobs. I said, that's what it is. And they have to have time. But that was her leadership. And then we had a kind of come to Jesus moment after that. But for the most part, that's what people think that central office is for. And people will tell you that is not how we run our district and how we run our central office. People love my HR officer. He's everybody's favorite, right? And everybody feels supportive and that they know we're there. They can call us and we'll come running, or we're thought partners, whatever they need. But we are there to help and to serve. And it's just a different mindset.
Yeah. That what you just shared is mind blowing. Wow. Fire them or
no, straight up. Oh, I'm gonna fire you. And I was like, well, now.
Yeah. Wow.
I said, well, and then when she left, once she left, I said, now, I'm long gone from that job. But when she left, I said, that is not how we do things here.
Yeah. That's right.
It's not how we do things.
This young lady, Carrie Rosa, you probably responded to this, but let me put it on here. And can you share how that's?
I see it. Mm-hmm.
Or what it looks like. You handled that, right?
A little bit. I guess the only thing I can add about it is this: coaching. Like I said, we don't lower the expectations; we increase the support. And so we provide coaching for our principals and our APs, but it's based on what they need, not based on what I think you need. So it's really, you'll hear me say things about co-designing, co-planning, and all those things. The important part about that is the meaning co-community, us together, because everyone has areas of growth. And I think that one thing I have really been really good at getting my people to understand is I want you to be honest. Show up as your authentic self, but be honest. I cannot help you if you're not willing to allow us to help you. Because that happens, Principal Kafele, because people make it to this, point where I'm the principal. They have the title. They don't want to seem vulnerable. They don't want to seem like they don't know something. And I told them, I said, pride comes before the fall. I said, do not do that. I said, if you need help, say I need the help, because we'll give you the help. But, that's what it is. And never, when I walk through buildings, I'm there to shake some hands, to kiss some babies, you know what I mean? But I'm not there to embarrass the principal or to make them look bad. Absolutely not.
Just let me highlight Dr. Don here, because I know you guys.
Hey, Don.
Yeah, because when I was checking you out, I saw the pictures of y'all taking selfies and all. So, okay, they know each other. Yeah.
Yes.
Good to see you, my brother, Dr. Don. Dr. Brunson, I have an obsession with ensuring the visibility of children. This is during my principal years, during my teaching years of just ensuring their visibility, that they're seen, that they're not walking in that building unseen, invisible. But by the same token, an obsession with instilling in staff the belief that the impossible is in fact possible. Right. So so that was my language. And that's why when I saw what you had, I said, let me just use that as the title, because it speaks to what I believe. So I want to ask you this. What does making the invisible visible and the impossible possible mean? And why is that your superpower and your life's purpose?
I want to use a particular thing that happened in my career. I had the honor of, and I talked about Arnie Duncan at the time. I had the honor of, Chicago was very interesting, right? So because we go through, all of these different leaders and all of those things, I was tapped to create a new school. Like, if you've ever had that opportunity, I love when you talk about new programs, new this, new that. And we were working with the Northwestern University and, some other philanthropic, very wealthy people. And they wanted to create a new school. Like, it was called Voice Academy, Voice Academy, Virtual Opportunities Inside a School Environment. This was way back in 2005, 2006, 2007, like way back then, before we were really even the ability to do the things that we're doing, right? And in the planning of that, one of the things that they wanted to do was to put it somewhere to where it was in a wealthy community. And one of the things I said, well, we're not doing that. Why would we put it somewhere where they already have so much, right? I was like, how about putting it in one of our communities that need this, the community that needs something like this? And they were like, no, but the community is, socioeconomically is below this, the poverty, the violence, this. They started coming up with all the excuses. And I said, but that's exactly why it needs to be there. I said, that is why it needs to be there. Because there is a need. Why put it someplace that has an abundance? Put it somewhere where it needs. And so and shout out to Todd Yarch, he and I were partners in crime with this. We had to hire every teacher. We had to write the curriculum. Like, we had to do every single thing. But we knew the type of people we wanted to hire, right? Now, the higher ups were like, okay, we're going to give you all this free reign to do this. And we built this school. And it was on the west side of Chicago. And if you know anything about that, because you've heard about it, right? All Black children with a few brown children. And we built a school that was outpacing the graduation rate of Chicago public schools. In a place where they said, why put it there? It was almost like a place that people had lost hope for. And for me, about that being my superpower, I have so many firsts. I think I write about it in the book that I've been the first to do this, the first to do that. When you are the first, it's because you have a vision and belief that you can do something. Like, it doesn't exist, but you like, I can make that happen. And it's always at the benefit of children and a benefit of a community. And I think that that's the most important thing. And I think that's why it's my superpower. And in this position as a superintendent, oftentimes there's a lot of data on this, there's a lot of data on that. And we need you to improve this. We need you. And I'm like, sure, I can do it. There's not one thing that I don't think that's impossible. And I think that it may take time, but I believe that if it's the right thing to do, then we can get it done. And so that is just really my philosophy. It is a lot of work. There's a lot of self-reflection. There's a lot of pulling yourself off the floor, picking yourself back up. There's a lot of restart. There's sometimes a lot of starts and stops, but it is when you know that you are in service of children and in communities, then it's worth doing. So yeah. I just use as an example that you can put really great things in places that people have forgotten about or that people dismiss.
Yeah.
And time and time again, I have proven people wrong, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Along the same lines, I want you to think about that school. We could say schools. Let me just keep it to one school. So this school is perennially low performing.
Yes.
It's urban. It's Black and brown. I'll put an emphasis as a Black school, since you've worked in a lot of Black schools. I have. So it's perennially low performing, but you walk into that building as the new principal, and you've got this vision of excellence, which is realistic. I walk into that building and I've got this vision of excellence, and it's realistic despite the fact that this school has never tasted success. Now, you got all these veteran teachers in the building who they've internalized what this school has become over the years, right? Talk to us, because see, with this platform, it's a lot of new leaders on here.
Yes.
It's a lot of aspiring leaders on here. It's a lot of APs who are not yet in the principalship. What do you say to that leader that finds him or herself in that school, in that situation, with that staff, with rock bottom expectations? Yes. How do we get them to believe what you and I believe about the possibilities or prospects of the young people?
Haven't done it. Let me tell you, the most important thing is to start off with is doing one-on-ones with people.
Yes.
One-on-ones. You got to get to know what they believe in, who they are. Conversation I have with them is, tell me about your, K-12 experience. Tell me about that. Then I move it to, so when you decided, because remember, deciding to go in education, it's a decision. You decided that you wanted to become a teacher. When you started off as a teacher, what kind of teacher did you want to be? What kind of influence, impact did you want to make? And then that's where I've started with conversations. I've done this at every place I've been, Principal Kafele, every place. And then it helps me to now understand your motivation. And then as the leader, you then have to figure out, as a leader, you have to be very agile in leading people. You don't lead people how you think they need to be led. You lead them, you co-lead, you co-create with them. Because you will find out, well, some people wanted to become a teacher and they had all of these great aspirations and goals and they believe this, they believe that. And then along the way, they got disappointed. Something happened that took away that snuffed out that flame in them. And then your job is to figure out, how do I inspire these people again? How do I get back to their why? And then you use your leadership agility. And then you figure out how to lead your people in a way that is psychologically safe, that you are not compromising on the expectations. And then you figure out what each one of them need. What are their talents and their gifts? All of that stuff. Now, people think that this is, they're like, oh, who has time for that? I said, if you better do it at the beginning, because you'll never get them to where they need to be and where your school community needs to be if you don't understand them. Because you'll get in the room, one-on-one is funny, because one-on-one people, and they'll, how people get in meetings and they will cut up in the meetings. they will cut up in the meetings and they will take over your meetings. But if you are one-on-one with somebody, quietly, deeply listening to them, it may be the first time somebody ever did that for them. You know what I mean? Yep. Or it's been a long time. And then you're able to say, hey, I met with everyone. I'm going to give you the trends, the data. This is who we are. So then you take all of that and say, now I want all of these individual people who have all these great assets and talents. Now I want us to put all our superpowers together. And then we build this vision together. Our vision of wild success. What is that? But it all starts with a conversation. But it also with you as a leader being unrelenting. I remember when I became principal of a new school, with the new principal of a school, I was their first woman. I was their first person of color, like everything. And so I was the only Black person in the building. Do you understand what I'm saying? And I said, one of the things I said to them, I said, let me explain this to you. I want to tell you who I am. And I told them about my like I said, my superhero origin story, who my mother was, and being, like if you read my chapter in the book, you will know about all of the coming from Alabama and all of those things.
Oh, we going to talk about that.
Yes, we are. So I told got it. I said, half of you all are going to love me and half of you are going to hate me for the same reason. And I said, it's because I love children so much and I believe in their power and who they can be. I said, so half of you all, we're going to be on the same team real quick. The other half, it's my responsibility to gain your trust. Yeah. It's for you to understand who I am and what I believe in. And then for me to understand who you are and what you believe in. And then needless to say, I was the principal of that school for 10 years. Do you know what I mean? And we did great things, won awards. I talk about it in the book. And so this is the thing. Listening is your superpower, leaders, listening. And don't listen because it sounds like the great thing to do. Or, there's one book I would say, The Listening Leader by Shane Saphir. I love that book. I think it's practical. It's really, really important. But that is important for you to listen and people to know that you will then respond to the things that you've heard. Don't make empty promises though, because people don't like that. That's how people will distrust you. But you let them know, thank you so much. This is a gift. This is a gift that you gave me. Being honest with me, that was a gift. And so then you build from there. Build from there.
Yeah. I'm like so off script now because you dropping so much on here. And I'm looking at these comments. I'm gonna stay off script. With everything you just said, in getting to know people one-on-one, the regulars on this platform know that I tell this story of the first time I saw Luther Vandross at Madison Square Garden in New York City in around 84, 85, whatever it was. And he said something that didn't mean a whole lot to me at the time. Before he sang his first song, he said to 20,000 screaming fans, he said, "I'm going to take my time singing these love songs."
Yes.
So I received that literally. So then years later, I'm a principal, and I'm walking my halls, and I've got Luther on my mind, and that what he said, "I'm going to take my time singing these love songs," and my mind said, "Bam,
That's right.
that's it. I have to get to know my staff individually."
Yes,
Right? I can't know you in a staff meeting.
that's right.
Right? A department or whatever meeting. I have to know you one-on-one. So when you were saying that, I said, I'm getting ready to go off script now. Right? because that spoke to me. Because I literally, during preps, I mean, I would literally write a plan, a leadership plan, not a to-do list. This is my plan for the week as principal. And my plan would say, okay, at 9 o'clock, going to Miss So-and-so's class, spend just a few minutes, just sort of breaking the ice, know you at a level I don't know you, allowing you to get to know me at a level you don't know me, which creates sort of a transition for me to be able to get into the tough conversations because I've removed certain barriers.
Yes.
So I'm taking my time singing these love songs. So now here's where I'm going with you with this. There's a leader perhaps on this call right now, or we'll see the video later, and they'll say, "I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. But I don't know how to do that. I don't have time to get to know my staff on that level because I got so much crap on my plate, particularly an assistant principal who's being misused and underutilized." I'm way off script. This wasn't
no. This is now listen, this is my thing right here. That is also the whole thing about equity, giving the people what they deserve and what they need. So I was an AP. I did AP for 4 years, and I was one of those. I was hardworking. I did it all. And this is what I want to tell people. If you don't take the time now, what you're going to be taking time is you're going to be hiring and more hiring and then more hiring because people will be leaving. You cannot have a revolving door of people leaving because their working conditions are not great. You need to take the time. I do it now as a superintendent. I have these times where I just send it out to the whole district. Now I may only have 20 slots, but if there's 20, you want that 20, that's yours. But I do this for my cabinet, for my district office. I do it every year, twice a year. And I spend the time. You either spend the time or you're going to have people that are going to be undermining you, who not understanding the mission and the vision, who are not coming to work and doing what's right for children. You have to make the time. If you don't do that, you have to go slow to go far. And we know that these jobs are dynamic. We know that these things are coming at us all the time. Initiative here, somebody, a parent here, this there, all of that is coming. It's like drinking from a fire hose all the time. But the reality is, if you don't think this is part of what you do, you will fail. And it will be bad for your mental health because all you're going to be doing is putting Band-Aids on, and duct taping things to try to keep the things together. The thing is about excellence and progress. It's about thriving and not surviving. Too many of our people who are leaders, especially principals, are in the surviving. You want to get to where you're thriving. And the best way to get there is to get to know your people. Know Miss Jones in 5th grade. She just lost her mother. Those types of things. Know that somebody likes to garden. Somebody used to be a violinist, when they were younger. Like, get to know who they are and then tap into those talents and those gifts. They love that. I share myself with my staff all the time. I'm very honest. I'm very open. I have cried in front of them because I was tired and overwhelmed or even hurt by something. I've cried because of joy. They know me. They know, my story. And I have not been, I just thinking you can't say that you want people to be their authentic selves, but you don't know who their authentic selves are.
Right.
Like, how are they bringing it? You're not setting a table or creating the conditions for that to happen. Take your time to get to know your people, because once you make all those deposits, when you have to make a withdrawal, meaning you got to discipline someone, or you got to talk to them about something, their practice, as practitioners, you got to coach them or whatever it is, they will know that you care for them in a way that they're willing to hear and listen to your feedback. This is all about that as well. And they'll lift you up. They'll lift you up. You got to humanize this experience. That you have no choice if you want to be successful. I mean, there are people who are going to do it their way, but oftentimes they're not successful because of that.
Lot there. I'm gonna keep moving, but I'm gonna keep going off script when I need to. Today, ironically, for those out there in the world that are not aware, today, May 17th, is the 71st anniversary of Brown versus the Board of Education.
Yes, it is.
Right. And the Supreme Court decision that said that segregated schools was unconstitutional. Well, you have a story. And here's how I want to do this. I want to shed some light on the whole Brown v. Board where you come in.
One of my favorite things to talk about, by the way.
Oh, okay. As a first grader, you were part of a desegregation plan in Chicago, Illinois. Now, here's how I want to do this. I broke this up into 3 parts. Mm-hmm. I want you to first tell us the experience of the school. Secondly, and I'll prompt you.
Yes.
Because I didn't want you to lump it together. I just want you to talk about the experience first, like the notification, the being there. Yes. But secondly, I want you to talk about the experience that led you back to the neighborhood school. So that I want to use that as a separate prompt, if you follow me. And then thirdly, I want you to talk to us about how you were seen in the neighborhood school. So let's break that up into 3, right? So let's go first. Talk to us about the experience as a first grader of not attending your neighborhood school, but going to a different school as a part of this desegregation plan.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing, and this happened in Jersey, this happened in all these big cities, even though they said they're going to deseg, right? But it took decades. It took a long time because people refused to do it, and then the government didn't really have they weren't really pushing it. So communities were deciding that they were going to do it. And so, my mom, my family came from Alabama, and they were like, we came here. I was not, of course, born then, but they came with the hope of, a better life for their children. And so that kind of was always there at the forefront. And so then we were all tested in kindergarten. We were all tested to see who was going to get the privilege of going to the white school, leaving my segregated Black community that nurtured me and loved me and saw me. But my mom was like, no, we want you to get the best education. And so this is what we want you to do. So I took the test in kindergarten, first grade. We got on that bus and we went into the all white community. And it was when I finally felt Black. You understand what I'm saying? When I finally felt different. Or this is when I write in a book about how then I realized that there were 2 Americas. Like for real, realized there were 2 Americas. I mean, it was the N-word on side of the bus. It was people throwing things. People didn't want to speak to us. Like it was, I didn't know what was going on. It was 20 of us getting off this little bus. And school bus. And it was parents out there, parents of my soon to be classmates, like, go away. We don't want you here. And I was just like, just trying to go to school. But then it was in the school where the teachers didn't even recognize you raising your hand. We ate at lunch together. We were segregated in the lunchroom. We were not part of the community, the school community. And that planted a seed in my heart and in my reality of that I was always different. I was always going to be different. It was a very lonely, very sad time because we were so young. And I didn't understand it. I really didn't at that time. I know now, but I did not understand what was going on. And I remember going home telling my mother, I don't know, they're not nice to us. But she was like, but no, you're going to get a better education. Like, it was like she really believed that. And it was just a lot that we were going through. A lot that we were going through on that bus, just first grade, you know? Yeah.
And to the fam out there, I just want to be crystal clear for maybe the younger fam, maybe the fam that went through a whole K-12 miseducation and then at the collegiate level as well, and you haven't even been exposed to this. We're not talking about Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi,
Chicago,
right? We're talking Chicago, Illinois, up north, right?
Yes, yes. What did he say? He said in Centers. What did he say? Chicago ain't nothing but the South with tall buildings.
That's right. So talk to us about that experience that you had at that school that led you to go back to the neighborhood school.
Yeah. There were two. One that I'm going to talk about was really sad. Just there was always somebody throwing something at us. There was always someone calling us out of our name, but I got beat up really badly in the bathroom. And I just remember, like, why? Like, you know what I mean? You remember, we're little, like by now I'm like in third grade, because now I have been there a couple of years, right? Then, and now this was happening all the time. There was always something happening, but that one was particularly brutal. And I remember my mom coming to the school.
You said these were older girls.
These were older girls. They were like maybe fifth grade, sixth grade. They were older girls. And, the whole, we don't want you here, and, all the N-word and all of the vitriol and all of that stuff. And I just, fought back the best I could, but I remember, when my mother was called and my mother came to the school to pick me up, and the principal said, my mother said, your job is to protect my child. Like, why didn't you protect my child? He said, well, what did you think was going to happen when you came here? That he was like, that wasn't, we don't want you here. I was forced to let you all come here. And so he absolved himself of the responsibility of caring for me as a child, and my mother at that point, and I remember going home and I told her I absolutely did not ever want to go back. But that was the worst, but there was something that happened, also, and I want to share this one because I don't think I shared this one. One of the girls, who befriended me, a white girl, invited me to her birthday party. And my mother, of course, I remember driving to the birthday party and I had the gift in my hand, and my mother was kind of like skeptical, but like, okay, this community doesn't want us, but the little girl invited me, and we're on the steps, Principal Kafele. And I can see, like, I lived in the hood. So I'm going to this nice house and I'm seeing all this, and I saw a pony. I'm not joking. A pony in the backyard. And I was like, oh my God, a pony. And I had my gift, and the mother came to the door and she was like, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I'm here for the party. And she was like, we're not having a party. And I handed her my gift. I said, can you at least give her my gift? And I remember my mom having that conversation with me in the car and telling me, that's my reality. It just hit me. And that was right before the incident of getting beat up in the bathroom. And so you put that, because then now the girl wasn't speaking to me at school because her parents told her not to. So now it's like all of these things. And I just remember handing her my gift and saying, just give her my gift. And again, my mother explaining to me, this is how it is, and just, the talk that we always have about, you got to be twice as hard, you got to be twice as smart, and you got to be, this and all of that. And that stuck with me. And then it was like weeks later when that happened about me getting beat up in the bathroom. And then I told my mom, I said, I don't ever want to go back there. And I did it. She took me out of the school and we went back to our neighborhood school. And
then in that school, it was a different kind of experience.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Completely different experience. I get there. Now, mind you, I think the one thing I forgot to talk about is the first time we drove up to this school in that bus. And I was like, oh my gosh, sprawling green, greens, and this school looked like a university. It was so beautiful. And then you get to my school, and it's all dilapidated, and there's some deferred maintenance and all of this stuff. But the thing about it, it didn't matter how beautiful that school was. My school was full of Black educators that loved me and saw me. And then it's funny because for years I didn't say a word in the other school because I wasn't seen. But then I get here and I skip a whole grade because they found out I was gifted. Like I just think about that. Even this at this big old age, you feel that. That is really what made me say, I would never allow that to happen. So you want to talk about equity warrior, honey, that started when I was in first grade. You know what I'm saying? That was planted to me in first grade. Like I never wanted a kid to feel that, to feel unwanted, to feel like not seen. And so that's been my purpose. And that's what I mean by the impossible possible and the invisible visible. That's really what it is. It's been in me since I was 6. Yeah.
Wow. I'm I noticed, and I don't really have to share this, but I want to. I noticed the comments stopped, right? And I know I feel like I know why. I think there was so much processing going on when you shared that. Because see, we can read the stories about when Dr. King's father have that conversation with him, but when we have someone like yourself who we can virtually touch and hear the story, I think a lot of people were processing what you said, and just kind of imagining what that probably was like for you as a youngster. But I want to go deeper. I want to share, and I'm only sharing this because you wrote it in the book, right?
Yes.
You said, I am the daughter of a 17-year-old high school student.
That's right.
Born in a housing project on Chicago's South Side. My mother struggled with addiction until her untimely death with complications of drug overdose. As a child, I lived a life of poverty. I've been unhoused, suffering the humiliation of being evicted twice, and know what it feels like to be food insecure without resources and basic necessities. I was also a first-generation college student. There's a lot there. There are many that cannot imagine, who are in schools with young people who cannot imagine what life might be like outside of the walls of that school. But here you are, despite all those challenges, look at you, right? And there's still so much more. But imagine, let's go back to the first school, or even a different place where they didn't recognize your talent, your gifts, your greatness. That happens to young, I don't have to preach to you. That happens to young people in schools every single day.
Yes.
There are Tiffany Brunsons in schools all over America who are sitting, in some cases, many cases, in a special needs environment.
Yes.
Where I should be in the gen ed environment, but for some reason I'm not passing. And it might be because I'm subjected to a teacher that has no clue as to how my brain makes sense out of new information. So now all of a sudden I find myself classified, and that becomes my self-fulfilling prophecy.
That's right.
Now I'm on that school to prison pipeline. And so I wanted to share that because you're a living, breathing example. But then I got to go back to our topic. We know your superpower now is making visible and the impossible possible, right? So if you could go back into time, let's go back to when you got back to the original school, the segregated school. What was your superpower then? Because you were doing big things.
As a kid? Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I always say that was the worst experience, but the best experience I ever had.
Yeah.
I found my voice. I tell people I've been broken into a million little pieces and put myself back together. And at no point ever again would I have allowed that to happen. Then I started sticking up for classmates and sticking up for, going to my principal and asking questions. I became like, I understood that we were not getting the best education. I understood that there was a life outside of our community. I mean, even as a young child, because I started to see life differently. Like, I feel like I grew, my heart grew, I grew, just like all of that. And then at that point, I realized, like, man, life is fragile, like even at such a young age. And then I just started doing anything I could do to serve and to help. And that's actually how I was led to becoming a special education teacher. I mean, it was all of it. It was all seeds planted in me, because I never wanted any child to ever feel lonely, alone, unseen, all of those things, because I knew what it was like to live in poverty and lose my mother really young and all of those types of things. And so, yeah, I mean, it just set a path for me to serve, to serve. It did.
So therefore, I want you to talk to the fam out there, these leaders that are on this call right now, or the ones who will see the video later on, which is the bulk of who watches this, the ones that see the video. Talk to them about the Tiffany Brunsons who are in their school.
Yes. And
what their roles are, because I just have to believe that some of us really don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, because this is what I want to say about that. It's not always the students that are your students who are who challenge us. It's not always those students. Oftentimes we spend a lot of times with students who are our most challenging children, right? And because I practice radical empathy, I know, and this is because of my life story, that I know that there's something behind. Behavior is just communication. And our young people don't have all the words. They don't have all the multisyllabic, sophisticated words to express themselves. Like, you know what I'm saying? Yep. And so it's our job as adults to see that our jobs are to protect children. Our jobs are to empower them. Our jobs are to not pity them and to not save them, because they don't need saving. What they need is, like I tell my staff, I said, we don't discipline children. We teach them discipline. There is a difference. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, and so I am there, like, I'm not here for the suspensions. I'm not here for the exclusionary behavior, practices and things like that. And that has been really difficult, because there's old school folks. Now, a kid act up, they do A, we do B. I said, nope, that's not. I said, I want to know why the kid did that. What made you do that? Why are you, hurting someone? Why are you hurting yourself? Why are you being disrespectful? And I always talk about, what did I say at the beginning? The verb, not the noun. Yeah. Talk about, why are you being disrespectful? Not why are you disrespectful? Why are you? Because kids start to become those things. Talk about the things you can change. What is the undesirable behavior? Get to know that kid. But don't forget, there are kids like me. I was a perfect child. I was a straight A student. I was a kid who followed all the rules. I was that kid. But I also was unhoused. I also was living in abject poverty, in abusive, situation. And people didn't know. They didn't know, because I was very good at hiding it. Very, very good at hiding it, But then there were wonderful teachers who did see me, And they were there to I can name them: Miss Weaver, Miss Holyfield, Mr. You start naming them. Like I did that at one of my opening meetings with my staff. I put my picture up and I told them my story. Because sometimes we live in shame and we don't tell people our stories. Because, I got a PhD, all of this stuff. That doesn't mean anything. Those are just accomplishments, because I never want to fail, right? But who are you? And so I put that up, and then I started naming the teachers, and naming the people who poured into me. And I asked my staff to do the same thing. And once they start naming, and I was like, bring those people. And then I stopped it, and I had to do my principal kafele. I said, okay. Now you are sharing the people who inspired you. Now, if I brought all your students in here, what would they say about you? You know what I'm saying? Would you be the teacher 10 years from now that they're going to shout out when someone asks them, which teacher motivated you? Are you going to be the one that inspired them? Or are you going to be the one who said the most hurtful things to them that they will never recover from. Do you know what I'm saying? Did you break them or did you build them? You know, you got to think about that. What is it? Is easier to, to build strong children than to who? To repair broken men. So you got to think about that. Repairing.
That's right. Legacy is your chapter is actually called Legacy Work. Mm-hmm. Legacy is big with me. It's so big that 2 weeks ago, my monologue was, "What will be your leadership legacy?"
Yeah.
In your book, I want to read another paragraph here as it relates to legacy under the brilliance section. It says, "The concept of legacy has intrigued me my whole life. I've read countless books, listened to podcasts for hours, and watched numerous documentaries about famous and infamous people. What they all have in common is some sort of golden thread. They all left lasting legacies, have influenced people, became part of the zeitgeist of popular culture, made history, and even inspired movements. I've had the privilege and honor of having many challenges, triumphs, and firsts. So at so many levels throughout my life and career." My question to you: talk to us about legacy as it relates to, matter of fact, a lot of this, let me shift this. Mm-hmm. Talk to us about legacy relative to the principles that you lead.
Yes. So we are a small district, which I chose that for a reason. I've been in large systems, big systems, but when I became a superintendent, I wanted a small district because I wanted to have deep, meaningful relationships with people. It's hard to have that with thousands and thousands of people. It's not really feasible. But I have 5 principals, and then they have assistant principals and things like that, right? I spend time with them, get to know them and get to know their own leadership and their own aspirations and goals. I think it's really, really important. It's about our impact. It is about when your time is up, because everybody doesn't have, I'm talking about your leadership time. Like when your time is up, when people look back on the time that they spent with you, or the time they were being led by you, or the time that they interacted with you, the initiatives that you push through, the changes that you make, whether it's physical changes, whether it was, structural changes, whether it was curriculum changes, or whether it was, hey, we brought these new programs, whatever the changes are they the right ones? Are they serving your children? Are they serving your staff? And principals need to understand that your job is the hardest job, not because you are the principal, but because every single thing that happens in that building is your responsibility. And I think that's the biggest part about this legacy, is you have to take 100%. It is your responsibility. I always struggle with people that's like that Spider-Man meme, Spider-Man pointing at Spider-Man like, it's you, it's me, it's you, it's me. No, it's you. When you are the leader of that building, it is yours. It will either rise or it will fall because of you. And that's about your legacy. Yeah. People will, and you have to take on that responsibility. So when you apply for those jobs, people, and you go through all those interviews, and they're going to ask you all these questions, and then you take you sign on a dotted line, you decide, you're going to get this nice, salary. Understand what comes with that. The very tiny things, or the things you can't see, are now you are responsible for every single heartbeat in that building. Teachers, staff, parents, children. If you do not feel that it's your responsibility, you don't go home crying at night, your feet hurting from the shoes, and you're tired, you're thirsty, I'm not saying, break yourself now. We can get into why you got to take care of yourself, which is why I'm so happy that you're in San Juan. But you got to understand that it comes with great responsibility, and you got to be up for the challenge. People are going to be nasty to you. You're going to get spicy emails. People are going to challenge your intellectual acumen, or even if you should or deserve that seat. That will come at you every single day. And you better stand up straight and say, I earned this. I deserve this. And most importantly, I'm going to deliver. And that is what legacy work is about.
Well, I'm going to deliver. And again, that's
deliver.
That's an attitude.
Yes.
That's a mindset.
Yes.
So let's stay right there. So there's a leader in a school. This is not your district now. This is you and your consultants.
Yes.
There's a leader in one of your audiences.
Yes.
And they were excited in terms of the process of getting there, going to grad school, the interviewing, and I'm here. But now I'm in it, and I don't know. I thought, that my presence was going to make a difference, but now I'm questioning myself. How do I take that leader and develop the confidence that's necessary within that leader now that I'm in this role that was fictional until I got it?
Well, I mean, some of the things we talked about at the beginning, you have to dig. And first of all, why did you want to become a principal? Why? You wanted to big desk. You wanted to be able to call your mama and say, "Look, mama, I made it." Like, I mean, what was your motivation, right? You have to go back to the well. Got to go back to that, and then get a mentor. Read some of your books. you got to always stay above. You got to stay abreast of the training and all of the things. Like, you got to forever be a student of being a leader. Like, read some John Maxwell books. Like, go to, but you got to get real deep into your bag about leadership, because leadership is complex. It's so complex. And people are not going to respect you just because you got the walkie-talkie and the keys to every door. No, you know what I'm saying? That's what most of them do. Well, I'm the principal. I got all the keys. I got the walkie-talkie. I'm like, that don't make you a principal.
Right.
You are not a leader if there's no one willing to be led by you. That is what it's about. And so there is great sacrifice to that. So you got to go back and say, hey, that's like, I love when you put up the mirror. That's that self-reflection. The micro interactions that you have for everyone and with everyone matters. How do you speak to them? Do you provide professional development that's personalized? Do you have conversations with people that are courageous and impactful? It is all about every action that you engage in, from the moment you pull up into that parking spot that got principal to the moment you leave. And you got to deliver. It is about to deliver. And you cannot, and you shall not, and you better not call for somebody else to fix a problem that you are tasked to fix. Now, you can call and get somebody to talk to you behind the scenes. I do it all the time. But as a leader, as a principal especially, everyone is expected. I always talk about this. I think principals, and then you have pilots, and then you have like doctors. There are certain jobs they expect you day one to be able to do your job. Like, now you did this, now, like, because I don't need you trying to on the job training with the, flying the plane. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's 200 of us on here. You need to know what you're doing. And so that's what this job is like too. You have to make sure that you understand your responsibility. And be okay with every day. You're not going to be great at it until you get great at it, but don't fake it. Don't fake it. Don't fake it. Do not do that, because once you lose people's trust, it is hard to get it back.
Can't get it back. It's like when you shoot an arrow, boom, can't retrieve it.
It's gone. Mm-hmm.
Gone. Let me read one more section from the book. Under significance, it says, as an educator, I have spent my career working diligently to establish classrooms, schools, and educational environments that respect diversity, provide culturally affirming experiences, and space for all students to learn and thrive. These inclusive environments invite each of them to show up as their true, authentic selves and fosters a sense of belonging. I have used co-creation, centering student voices and experiences, and circle leadership as the blueprint for how successful schools, districts, and educational institutions should be formed. So I got a lot with that.
Yes.
Here we go. You're conducting a seminar at some conference or institute somewhere, and your audience is full of principals. For our leadership viewers this morning, what might this conversation sound like where you're talking about these respect and diversity? What might that sound like given the context of our current society, where diversity, equity, and inclusion has become the boogeyman? What is that conversation? What does that presentation sound like to that room full of principals where you're talking about respecting diversity?
It's funny. I just had this conversation with a room full of educators. So the thing I asked them was this. Okay, tell me who's in the room, right? So who's in the room? If you are a first year, educator, raise your hand. Okay, you're 10 years, you're 15 years. Okay, so who is describe yourself. If you had to stand up and give an elevator pitch about who you are, a speech about who you are, what would you share? And then I told them, I said, guess what you're going to share and what your neighbor is going to share, it's not the same thing. That's diversity. It's not this is not this difficult. It's not this difficult, because what I'm sharing with you all may resonate with someone on the call because they have a similar experience, right? But there's going to be someone else that grew up in a 2-parent home and did not have all of those challenges. They have never experienced that. That's diversity. It is not this boogeyman. And the reason why we need that is because we want to get into research. Research shows that when you have diverse companies, like you have people that are running the companies that are diverse, they're more successful, like financially successful. Like that research is indisputable. It's indisputable. And so if we want to think about, this and talking about it, it also makes our lives richer, more beautiful, right? And then it's more innovative. If everybody is thinking the same, we would have never made it to the moon. This invention that we're on right now, we would have never gotten the internet. We wouldn't have never. Somebody had to be different. Somebody had to be innovative and thinking outside the box. Diversity is that too. There has to be that we see it as a asset, as opposed to because someone who needs something, going back to equity, that this is a zero-sum game. That is such an American thing. And that is the problem. That's the reason why we're not as far along as we should, in our infancy as a country, because diversity there are countries where and I travel a lot, and you will go into a different country and English is not it may be their 7th language. Like, you know what I'm saying? You go places and they speak 28 different languages. And it's all like, it's a tapestry of wonder and beauty. And I respect you because your people came from here and your people came from there and your lineage is here, only here. But of course, this is because we were built on slavery, but don't get me started on that, and erasure of human beings. But that's why I try to remind people that is really important, that we see diversity as an asset. And so when I'm talking to people, I said, it's really that easy. It's not a difficult thing. That's my dog. The mailman is here.
I was going to say he got something to say about diversity too, right? Let's stay there. You talked about culturally affirming experiences and spaces for all students to learn. Here you're doing that seminar with that same audience, room full of principals, and you're talking to them about, again, culturally affirming experiences and spaces for all students to learn and thrive. What might that conversation or discussion sound like with them?
So now you want to bring it in very narrowly as a school, right? Even in a homogenous school where you have primarily maybe African American or primarily Hispanic or primarily even white, there's diversity in that too. And all of our students and it doesn't matter what kind of school or the students that we serve, they benefit from diversity. Like, there should be culturally responsive books. And I'm going to say this, as a girl, as a Black girl, I wanted to see myself as a protagonist in a book. You know what I'm saying? As a hero in the book, like those types of things. Some of this stuff is how do you want people to see you? It's not, people make these things way more complicated than they need to be. Who wants to be a place where they feel like their very existence, it doesn't matter? And so as a leader, are there pictures in the hallways that, that reflects greatness, that aspirations for our students? The hallways should reflect that. The people that you hire should reflect that as well. The conversations that you have should reflect that. When you're making policies and decision making, all of this should reflect the fact that everybody belongs here. And this shouldn't have to be, as much as you remember, I was a DEI officer, as much as I love all of that and the fight and all of that stuff, we tired. And it's not that hard to say you as a human being are welcome here, period, the end. And as a leader, you better fight for that. It is an asset. Thank you. It is an asset. And it makes everything more wonderful. And children are able to then leave, because one thing about education, our job is to make sure that as they matriculate through our school district, that they are able to go out into the world and navigate an ever-changing global society. We do our children a disservice when we don't see diversity as an asset. When even in these homogenous communities where it's all white communities, and the speakers that you bring in are not Black or white women, or the leaders on the cabinet, or the leaders on the exec board or whatever, all look the same. There, and there's no women. So women are like, well, what about us? There's no diversity. There's no person of color. There's all of these things, different religions. This is a very American thing. If you get outside of America, America is tiny. It's tiny.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so we got to see these. Our schools should reflect the global landscape. Now, there should be some mirrors and windows. Mirrors, meaning everything should, the kids should see themselves. But then our jobs as educator is windows, opening those windows to the world. And so you got to do both of those things.
And we get to the end. The question I have here, I hesitate to ask you. And the reason, because it's probably a seminar, right? It's and I don't even want to put you through that. Let's see if you can summarize this and not have to do the whole seminar, because then I need to pay you for your
it's all right.
Your speaker commission, right? But here we go. You, in that paragraph that I read, you used the language co-creation, centering students' voices and experiences, and circle leadership as blueprint for how successful schools, districts, and educational institutions should be formed. I'm just going to ask you for the synopsis. If you could break down what you mean by co-creation, centering students' voices and experiences, and circle leadership. If you want me to prompt each one, or
no, I can do that. Yeah. So I'll start with the co-creation. Co-creation. Those who are going to be affected by the decisions that you make must be part of decision making. So if you want to enact some sort of, say students with wearing uniforms, right? Why aren't they at the table letting you know, no, you're taking away my ability to be, unique. We always have and put up make some sort of decisions for people who are going to be affected by it the most. And they don't have any say so about it. The only thing they have to do is abide by it. And that's what that is. And so me understanding that students are fully formed human beings. And I remember having a conversation with a teacher, because I brought the students to the leadership team. And I was like, no, we're going to have students on this leadership team as we are creating our strategic plan, as we are creating some new policies. They're the ones who are going to be most affected by it. And one of the teachers told me, well, what does he know? Why would he be in here with us? What does he know? And I said, it's his school. He knows if he's being served or disserved. Do you know what? He knows that. He's 12 and he knows he should be able to tell you, this school is not serving me. The school is serving me. That is what that means about co-creation. Because it reminds me of the pedagogy of the oppressed. in that book, he talks about, and it's one of my favorite books, he talks about the fact that all decisions are made by people who are not going to be affected by the decision. And so you have to make sure that those who are going to be affected by whatever decision are at the table, even if they're children. The thing about circle leadership, the thing about circles are there's no beginning and no ending, right? So whenever I have meetings, I always put my tables are always in a circle. There's no head. There's no one, there may be someone co-facilitating or facilitating, but all of our voices are equal because we have a challenge, or we have something that we want to solve. And then we're all here to solve this problem together. The answers are already in the room. We don't need anyone to just, to solve our own problems. We can do that ourselves. And so that it is a physical thing. Make sure that your rooms are set up in a circle. It is having these norms where people aren't, because you're always going to have people that are more vocal, who are going to be the ones, voices are loudest. But most of the time that has to do with their position. And when we do that, when you set it up in a circle and then you go and say, hey, everyone has equal time to speak. If you're speaking too much, I'll tell them, I said, I may ask you to wrap it up because I want to make sure that there are voices, that every single person gets a chance to speak. And that is really important because you empower people and you let them know that their perspectives and their viewpoints are important. And so that's where the whole circle leadership comes in. It's physically set up that way, but it's also the norms of how we make decisions. Even as a superintendent, ultimately it's my responsibility and my decision, right? But even when we're choosing, and we have this for everything, our hiring practices, as we're writing policies, strategic planning, it takes longer. And I had to tell my leaders, this takes longer. But if you're only doing things so that it's in compliance, just for compliance and not commitment, then don't do it. I want to repeat that. If you're only doing things for compliance and not commitment, don't do them, because you're wasting your time and everybody else's. And so that physical setup and even the norms around that and the co-creation is really about getting to a solution that we all own, or creating the impossible that we all own and we all have a voice in. And that's the reason why my schools have been successful and places I've led have been successful, initiatives have been successful, because people can point to the day that they were the ones that I was at that, at that group, and I was there and they listened to me. And then guess what they do? Leaders, this is important. They then go tell everybody else. They will listen to you. Your voice does matter. Now you got a coalition of allies. Now we all rowing in the same direction and the boat is going. And that is the most important thing you can do. But if you're only in that position so that you can be in charge, you're not in charge. The system is always in charge. So let me let you in on that secret. The system is always in charge. You are not in charge. Because whatever system you have, that will always be the prevailing decisions. That is really important. Because if it is a system that is set up for a certain group of your students to fail, you will keep replicating, duplicating, reproducing the same thing if you're not willing to disrupt that and to now bring everybody to the table to fix it. And that's the only way that we're going to get ourselves out of where we are.
Yeah.
Is if we're doing it in a circle.
The willingness to disrupt it.
Yeah.
That makes me think of my monologue. What is revolutionary about your leadership? I'm right at the end. Let's talk about women in leadership. Women in leadership in general, and Black women specifically. As I say so often on this platform, I get a lot of inboxes, from people who don't know me, but know who I am, what I do, and they're seeking advice. And a lot of times it could be something where it's a woman who feels it's just very difficult to lead in her building because she's a woman or because she's a Black woman, right? So this is a whole seminar as well, I know.
Oh yes.
However, I got a two-parter. What would you say to that woman? And if you want to break it up into woman and Black woman, feel free. What would you say to that woman or that Black woman about being able to navigate this space, this system, where you happen to be a leader within this system. And the second part to it is, what do you say to that supervisor of this woman about about the relationship that you have with this person, this woman that you happen to lead? That's a lot, but
that's a lot. And I'll sum it up. I give a whole seminar on, I call it Tripping the Prom Queen. And there's some people who have sat through it. I've seen some of their names on here who have sat through it. And I talk about that whole thing about women in leadership and how we either as women don't support that as much as we should, or the system doesn't support it. And so part of it is, and I'll make this as maybe concise as possible. Two things. If you got the job and you were, first of all, courageous enough to see that you didn't check every box, and you went in there and you interviewed and you got the job, first and foremost, you earned it and you belong there. Second of all, yes, it's going to be more difficult. I've had, because I'm a small woman, and I've been when I was a principal, I've had people walk by me and said, I'm here to see the principal. And I'm like, hey, I'm here. You know what I mean? Things like that. Don't take anything personally unless it's personal. Your job is some people don't think their job is to educate other people about it, but be honest about the fact that it is more difficult to be a woman in leadership and a Black woman in leadership. And for those understand that it's going to happen. You're going to be questioned. You're going to, people are going to mansplain. They're going to overspeak you, but you have to know that you belong there. And then prepare for this. You got to prepare for it every single day. If this happens, what will you say? That's where this emotional intelligence comes in. You got to be willing to fight every day. And then sometimes you got to be willing to say, this is not a fight that's not necessary. But be prepared. Make sure that you have the right people around you that are lifting you up. If you are someone that is the person in charge of that department, and you see that this is a struggle, or you are there, you got to be an ally, become an ally or a co-conspirator. So that's the two things. You need to, if you are, say, a male counterpart and you see these things happening, or you are a female counterpart and you see these things happening, you got to be an ally or a co-conspirator. Speak well of that person in front of people. Don't pile on, because we love to do that. Oh man, Tiffany is bossy. You see how she's real bossy, or man, she didn't say that in the most kind way, or whatever. You're never going to be exactly what people want you to be. You'll never be that. And once you realize that, you're able to navigate very difficult things. I had a situation very recently where I had to speak very firmly and sternly about something. And I had to remind the person who did not like what I had to say. And I had to remind the person, just because you don't like what I had to say doesn't mean what I said was wrong. You understand? And I think too often we're trying to figure out, especially as women leaders, how the delivery needs to be there. I mean, I used to be paralyzed by, don't send the email without letting my executive assistant read it, to make sure that, it's like all of those types of things. But these are things that we have to be mindful of. But always understand that you're going to be challenged. It's going to happen. And you got to be up for that. It's going to be lonely. People won't understand your plight. People may think that you're making it up. I get that a lot. Oh, it's not that hard. I mean, I'm like, yes, it is, but the reality is you earned it. You belong there. And now, the work is just beginning.
Yeah. But that's a great summary. I probably need to bring you back when I do, because every now and then we do a session that's just on Black women leadership, So, and I wrote a note to myself, and then I put an X through it. It says, ask her about doing a summary of Tripping the Prom Queen. And then I said, nah, we ain't going there, because that's a whole. That's a whole.
I mean,
yeah.
There's some people on here who have actually been through the seminar, and I get real about like putting the mirror up to some of our more undesirable behaviors that we engage in. Put it that way.
Yeah, I said no. But you see, I did my homework. But listen, let's Let's go to these BAM impact questions. These are
Yes.
21 rapid fire.
All right, let's go.
No commas, one sentence or even one word, whatever you feel comfortable with. Here we go. Do you feel that education is currently on the right path for underserved children?
No.
Do you feel that true equity can occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Yes.
Does Dr. Tiffany S. Brunson's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Absolutely.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
Same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because it's needed.
What fires you up, particularly within the work that you do?
Seeing a kid reach their greatest aspiration.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
Those who are in charge not letting me do my job.
What has been your greatest victory in the work you do?
Greatest victory is creating more leaders.
What has been your greatest mistake in the work you do?
I don't believe in mistakes.
What has been your greatest challenge in the work you do?
Showing up Black and a woman every day.
Are you proud of your first year as an assistant principal?
What, was I proud?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I was.
Are you proud of your first year? Well, I mean, in hindsight, are you proud of it now as an assistant principal?
Yes.
Are you proud of your first year as a principal?
Oh, I killed it.
Who inspires you in your work?
All of the children.
What book would you recommend for the fam out there this afternoon?
The Sum of Us by Heather McGee.
What do you want to accomplish that you have not accomplished yet?
For my school to be nationally recognized as a leader in STEAM education.
Nice. Are you satisfied with where you are professionally?
Yes.
Is there another gear to your leadership, or are you at peak performance now?
Oh, no. I'm just getting started. You're 30. Still going.
What would you say to an assistant principal out there who continues to face closed doors to the principalship?
The right one will open. Be resilient.
What would you say to a leader out there who's lost their leadership passion?
Got to hit the restart button.
What would you say to a leader out there who's lost their leadership confidence?
You need to surround yourself with people that will rebuild you.
And lastly, if Dr. Tiffany Brunson was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Powerful.
Powerful. And what a powerful session that we had today for week 264. Let me be the first to applaud you, but actually I'm lying because we have a system here where we applaud our guests through emojis, and they already started. And I always appreciate that, fam. Keep those emojis coming for those of you who are unaware of the way we applaud our guests. And let me preface it by saying, if the session resonated with you, if you found it beneficial, if you enjoyed it, if you found it useful, if you got some nuggets that you can take back to your school and your leadership and infuse them into your practice, give us your favorite emojis. And y'all, I see y'all start. I see my wife here. Yeah. I see that. Keep them coming, y'all. Keep them coming. And, I bring my portable emoji with me, my smaller bat. Hit it out the park.
I love that.
Slam every time when I'm at home. I got my big Louisville Slugger, but this is my little portable joint. But yeah, no, you hit it out the park every time I threw a pitch, man. It was just great stuff. I appreciate you. I appreciate the fact that we made this happen so quickly as
yes.
well. Yeah. It's just one of them things. It's good stuff. But tell the folks, how do they bring you out to their district or their conference or their seminar institute? How do they bring you out? How do they get in touch with you?
So the easiest way, I'll give you my email. Email is the best, and it is power, POWER, the letter 2, THPUPIL 1 at Gmail. Power to the pupil 1 at gmail.com.
Give us that again.
powertothepupil1@gmail.com. PORE, the number 2, TH, pupil, PUPIL1@gmail.com. It's a little play on power to the people.
Yeah. Power to the pupil.
Right.
That's great. Hey, folks out there, and if you missed the email address, just rewind the video once I go off, and you'll have it. But certainly bring her out there. I'm sure she does convocation, back to school, keynotes, and when she can get away, that type of thing, and the seminars, the institutes, the conferences, all that kind of stuff. And what about social media? Because Dr. Don was saying that you dropped some stuff, and I actually saw a lot of those quotes as well.
Yes, yeah. My favorite thing is quotes. So you can find me on X at Dr. Brunson Go. So at Dr. Brunson Go. So Dr. Brunson, BRUNSONGO. And then I'm on LinkedIn, just Dr. Tiffany Brunson on LinkedIn.
There it is. So you got all the contact information, and then also the book. I would be remiss.
Yes.
Right. So
it is beautiful. It is a beautiful, beautiful, powerful book.
Powerful book. I'm gonna be bringing on some more to folks as well.
Yes.
So and thank you, Dr. Parker. He put the information up here for us. There it is.
Oh, right. It's the number 2.
That number, you missed that number.
That number 2.
Fix that number, Dr. Parker. But yeah, go to Amazon, folks, and get yourself a copy. And you again, we had 3 of the authors, including the editor, Dr. Taryn Given. It was on. Is it Given or Givan?
Given.
Yeah.
She's a powerhouse.
Yeah, she is.
A visionary.
She'll be back on as well. So get yourself a copy. It's a great book, if I may say so myself. Let me close out. You stay there even when I go off camera. Hey, to the fam out there, appreciate you being here all the time. And to the newbies, I appreciate you being here. But don't let this be your last time. This was week number 264. Consecutively, we do this every Saturday. It doesn't matter what's going on, and even if I have to record it, we're live at 10:55 Eastern time. So join us next week, where we're going to do part 2 of what I'm calling the math doctors, Jalila Frazier, Dr. Pamela Seda, and Juliana Tapper. We talked math a few months ago, and it was we didn't even get halfway through. It was so much to talk about mathematics relative to the leadership. So join us next week for 265 for the 3 of them. And then also every Saturday, Facebook Live, my team, the Fantastic Four, that's Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock. And he wasn't on today. I meant to say it during my intro. His daughter's graduating from high school. So kudos to her, kudos to the family. So he'll be back next week. But that's Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock every Saturday morning, followed by Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor at 10:30. AP and New Principals Academy at 10:55. That's myself. And then PDP Podcast with Josh Tovar and Dr. Madi Moreno on Sundays at 7 o'clock. All Facebook Live and all Eastern times. And that's not 7 o'clock. That's the old time. 5 o'clock Eastern time for PDP Podcast. Make sure that in addition to getting the book I just showed you, get my newest one. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? And perhaps you don't have all my books, right? Then go to ASCD.org or go to Amazon.com, put my name in the search, and all the books I wrote will appear on both sites. This is just the newest one. I do want you to get this. And as a matter of fact, join me this summer at my institute, July 15 and 16 in Raleigh, North Carolina. That's 2 days, July 15 and 16. We'll just be talking instructional leadership. We keep it small, 100 or less. So be with us. But also join me at ASCD. ASCD is the annual conference. I don't know the date, man. I think it's June 29th or 30th. Matter of fact, it's both dates. It's June 29 and 30 because I'm doing a pre-conference session. And then I'm doing the 30th, a regular session. So join me there in San Antonio, right? Just Google that or go to ASCD.org. But also join me at the United Conference. That's the NAESP, NASSP. Last year, they gave me 1,000-seat room. It's a breakout session, but they gave me 1,000-seater, and it wasn't enough seats for everybody. So they told me this year they're putting me in a theater. Right. So that way everybody can have a seat and not have to sit on the floor. So that's, I don't even have the date. All I know is July. I'll be there, right? It's in Seattle, right? So come on and join me in Seattle. Just go to the web, just Google United Conference and you'll see it. And I'd love to see y'all in the building. Let me put my brother up here, Janabu Williams. He's the principal of the school I once led. He just got his doctorate last week from my alma mater. So that's Dr. Janabu C. Williams, East Orange, New Jersey. Creates a whole lot of talent comes out of East Orange, New Jersey. Little 3.9 square mile city with a whole lot of folks that y'all love. Like, I know y'all love Whitney Houston. I know y'all love Dionne Warwick. I know y'all love John Amos from Good Times. I know y'all love Queen Latifah. Yeah, we claim her, although she sometimes says Nort. I know some of y'all love Naughty by Nature. and I guess y'all love Principal Kafele, right? So it's and I could keep going. It's so much more that came out of East Orange. Yes, sir, my brother Dr. Williams, right? So that's that. Lastly, everybody subscribe to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you subscribed and hit the notification bell so that you are notified when I go live, right? That's important. Visit principalkafele.com for all my additional resources. And then, as I always end up, your diet. Make sure you're eating right. I ate right here in San Juan, but I ate a lot, right? So I ate right, a whole lot of good stuff, right? Exercise, I got 4 days in, y'all. Yeah, we get that in, me and my wife. And then your virus precautions, man. You know, it's a lot out here. So just make sure that y'all are taking care of yourselves. Other than that, I see you next week for week number 265. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Flip it. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist all the way back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam. I'll see y'all next Saturday, again, 10:55. Deuces.